So it appears Sony dropped the claim against my video, The Last of Us Part 2, How to Ruin a Franchise, yet again. Now it's alive, but for how long? I put out my last video saying I will pursue a lawsuit against Sony Interactive Entertainment America for filing several false copyright claims against my video and channel. Many people donated to my Ko-fi and Patreon accounts because of that, and I'd like to thank all of you for doing that. I really appreciate the support. What I don't appreciate was Sony's next move. Like I said in my previous video, Sony originally filed a copyright claim against my video back on April 30th. On the same day, they had the shell company Muso TNT Limited file another claim on the same video that they couldn't see because it was blocked by Sony, and a DMCA copyright strike against my channel. YouTube eventually took down Muso's claims because Muso didn't follow the proper legal procedure. The problem is that Muso's claim was identical to Sony's, so when YouTube removed Muso's claim, I asked why YouTube didn't also apply this to Sony. I went back and forth with them, finally contacting YouTube's legal department to sort this out. As this happened, Sony decided to pull their original claim, and then refile it half a day later. The same claim, by the way, claiming the entire video as violating their copyright, even though more than half the visual content and none of the audio content belongs to them. Now, I'm pretty sure double jeopardy doesn't apply in fair use cases, but all the same, if you drop the claim, it looks real questionable for you to file the exact same claim hours later. So I made my previous video saying I would take them to court and waited for them to respond. And they did. On May 15th, Sony dismissed my dispute, claiming that they thought it was still valid, and this is literally the only explanation I received. So then I had to file an appeal. Now keep in mind, all of this goes through Sony, not YouTube. The dispute is between me and Sony, so when I say I think it's fair use, Sony can say, nah, and the copyright claim stands. My next option is to then file an appeal to that, which also goes through Sony, which Sony can also reject. When that happens, I receive a copyright strike on my channel and the video is removed. This also starts legal proceedings. You can see the inherent flaw in this. Sony has the final say in the ways I can defend myself before going to court. I'm forced to prove fair use to an entity that has already decided it's not fair use, without ever bothering to explain how or why they came to that conclusion. That's fundamentally unfair, but fine, you want to go to court, we can go to court. So I fill out the legal documentation, again, explaining how my video falls under fair use, again, and click submit, and nothing fucking happens. YouTube won't allow the submission to go through. I refresh the page and the submission form is gone. Now I'm just staring at the video description page, which shows the video is live. Again, somewhere between 12:57 p.m. and 2:15 p.m., Sony decided to remove that claim too. This happened as I wrote my response to Sony's dismissal, which is why I couldn't submit it. Now, I'm not naive. The Last of Us Part 2 was supposed to come out on May 29th. Sony's original claim was on April 30th, which would have had my video blocked until the game came out. But when Naughty Dog moved the release date to June 19th, this presented a problem. My video would go live unless Sony waited until the last minute to reject my dispute. I could appeal, and this would give Sony an additional 10 days to stall before dropping the claim or upholding it, resulting in my channel getting a strike and both of us going to court, which they probably don't want to do. In short, the video would be visible by June 11, about a week and a half before the game came out. So their option would be to ignore my dispute until sometime around May 19th, drop the claim, and then refile it so that the video would be blocked for 30 days, and if they waited to the last minute to reject my dispute, it'd be another 10 days they could stall when I file an appeal before dropping it and allowing the video to go visible after the game came out, where I'm assuming Sony thinks the video would get buried in the influx of reaction and review videos. I appeared on Nerdrotic's livestream a few days ago, and as from Healed vs Babyface, who's been facing 2 DMCA strikes and claims against his channel for showing a picture of It's Ma'am, decided to check his account on the air, and wouldn't you know, his claims were gone too. The strikes had already been removed by YouTube. and he too had been very public about contacting his solicitor to sue the Shinto shit out of Sony. So he said exactly what I was thinking. Sony will flag our videos again within the next few days, and then we're gonna go through this whole mess again. But there's a problem. Sony and their shell company Muso TNT Limited thoroughly fucked up by failing to follow proper legal procedure when filing these claims. They had to state the nature of the copyrighted material, where in the video the work appears, and show that the usage doesn't fall under fair use. They didn't do that with me, Az, Mr. H Reviews, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamer, Ryan Kendall, Mannix, Mara Jade, and a number of other YouTubers. That violates Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 and the DMCA. In my case, they really fucked themselves by removing and then refiling the same claim hours apart. Now they've dropped the claim a second time, and if they refile it for a third time, a fourth if you count Muso's claim, the only way they can save face is by citing the timecode where the alleged infringement happens. But there's this pesky problem that they were supposed to do that when they filed the claim the first time, and they didn't. When they filed 2 more times, they still didn't. That makes it look like they filed the claims in DMCA strikes in bad faith. Oh, but it gets worse, because I asked them several times to state the nature of the copyrighted material, where in the video the work appears, and show that the usage doesn't fall under fair use, and they ignored my emails. So Sony, if you file a 4th claim against my video, you will be admitting that your previous 3 claims were knowingly filed in error, meaning that you knew the time codes but didn't provide that information and instead struck the entire video. Worse, the fact that you ignored my request for the time codes is a demonstration that you acted in bad faith and with the intent to deceive me, YouTube, and the United States judicial system in violation of the DMCA and Copyright Act of 1976. It would appear that your intention, Sony, was to block the video from being viewed at all, which is further supported by the fact that you filed the same copyright and DMCA claims against about a dozen YouTubers and dozens if not hundreds of people on Twitter, news outlets, and forums. Further proof of this are the bullshit emails you sent to people like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers and Ryan Kendall. Their channels got struck with 2 DMCA copyright strikes, meaning 1 more strike and they lose their channels. Both they and several other people received these emails from Muso TNT Limited saying that you were contacting people on behalf of some ignorant embarrassment and that their videos, quote, contain unreleased content that has not been authorized by some ignorant embarrassment for distribution. You go on to cite the time codes where the alleged infringement occurred. That's information Muso was legally required to provide when filing the claims. They had to put that in the legal document, not in a fucking email. That's strike number 1. Strike number 2 is this, quote, that is the only reason the DMCA notice was sent. This is their justification for filing the DMCA claims, which was also supposed to be provided when they filed the claims, not in a fucking email. And like I said before, it looks like Sony is trying to block any of the videos from being viewed. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm around enough of them to know legalese when I see it. And that statement is definitely legalese for, we know it looks like we only filed the DMCA claims to block your videos, but really, that's not why we did it. Of course, there's a pesky fact that several other people have used the same image of the manimal in the Cosby sweater, but they haven't faced any issues because they weren't critical of it. Sony can say they only did it because people showed images of Macho Man Abby Savage, but we know that's not the case. And then there's strike 3, quote, to resolve the situation, some ignorant embarrassment proposes that you agree to not repost the video to YouTube, or alternatively agree to repost the video without the unreleased content. And then some ignorant embarrassment will request that YouTube remove the strike against your YouTube account. That sounds like a bribe. Sony, Muso TNT Limited, you filed copyright and DMCA claims against several YouTubers without providing the legal evidence required to justify your filings. You have not demonstrated that their usage of the, quote, unauthorized game content doesn't fall under fair use as defined in Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. You were required to do that by law as well. Now you're attempting to bribe YouTubers into deleting their videos by telling them that if they delete them and never upload them again, or if they delete them and edit out the parts you don't like, you will remove your illegal DMCA claim against them. How about no? You crazy Japanese bastards. You broke the law, Sony. You don't get to bribe people into letting you continue to break the law. And I love that even if they do what you say, you never mention whether you would drop the copyright claims on their videos. In other words, if they uploaded the content again as you asked, you could still file another copyright claim, but not a DMCA claim, which would block their videos from being viewed, but now their channels wouldn't be at risk unless they disputed the new claims. I love how the option is removal of the content, not blurring the alleged infringed sections using YouTube's built-in editor. Why is that? I suspect it's because Sony and YouTube made a deal to alter the algorithm to nerf the views of any new uploaded content, but the videos that are already up would still get shared by the existing algorithm and other users because of their high view count. Totally doesn't look suspicious. Sony, you're in violation of Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. The use of the images and footage fall under fair use, and as stated in the Act, quote, "The fact that a work is unpublished shall not itself bar a finding of fair use if such finding is made upon consideration of all the above factors, those factors being 1. The purpose and character of the use, 2. The nature of the copyrighted work, 3. The amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyright work as a whole, and 4. The effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work." You haven't proven that the images used don't fall under fair use, and in some cases, the videos you flagged prove that they do. Take Mannix's video that Sony DMCA'd. This happened because of this image. No, not the tweet. You see that little square on the left that says "fuck Naughty Dog"? There's an image of its pat beneath that. Sony claims it's a violation of their copyright for Mannix to show someone else's Twitter feed that has Abby's picture as a tiny thumbnail of an image they've tweeted. It's not that Mannix intentionally showed the image, just that the image incidentally appears on the screen at such a small size you can't even tell what the fuck it is, let alone construe any context of what you're seeing. And you want this person to remove the entire video over a fucking 1-inch thumbnail. And that's not even the worst one. The worst one is Jeremy's 2-hour-long live stream where he never showed a single image of the leaked footage. He just talked about the leaks. What's the copyrighted content there? What's he supposed to remove? Is he supposed to edit out any time he talked about the leaks? Is he supposed to remove the entire 2-hour-long video? This is bullshit, Sony, and you know it. And it may also be a felony. It sounds a lot like bribery. You have a legal responsibility to consider whether the usage of the images and footage are fair use, meaning whether the images and footage were used for criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. The fact that Sony and Naughty Dog didn't intend for the footage to be leaked is unfortunate. However, the leaks were reported in the news. At that point, it is not only out there in public, but it is a factual element. It is news. To say that a person cannot use a still image that's been reported in the news, let alone talk about the images reported in the news, is absolutely ludicrous and indefensible. You will lose this case if it goes to court, and you know it, so you're trying to bribe people. My suggestion to people receiving these emails is to reject the offer. Sony and Muso TNT Limited were required by law to properly file their claims, and they didn't. Any email you get like this is an admission on their part that they didn't follow proper legal procedure, and they're trying to cover their asses because they're in violation of Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 and the DMCA. As such, YouTube should remove the strikes and claims against your videos and channels, and I would go a step further and say that YouTube should bar Sony and Muso from filing further claims against any videos they've already claimed. You can't keep filing the same shit until you get it right. And Sony, since I know you're listening, let me make this clear. As far as I'm concerned, the lawsuit is still on. So if you file another claim against my video, that will be used against you in court as evidence of your malicious intent, because it will be the 4th time you filed that claim. Should you finally decide to state exactly where the alleged infringement happened in my video, that will be used against you in court as evidence of you filing the previous 3 claims in bad faith because you didn't include that information in your previous filings, and when I requested the information, you ignored my emails. Any further activity by Sony Interactive Entertainment America or Muso TNT Limited against me or my channel will be construed as a malicious attack in violation of the DMCA and the Copyright Act of 1976, and you will be pursued to the fullest extent of the law. And just in case you get clever and decide to leave me alone but go after other people, I will join them in a class action lawsuit against you as a material witness to show your pattern of abuse and violation of YouTube's copyright claim policy, the DMCA, and the Copyright Act of 1976. If I have to fly my black ass to merry old England to testify for ass, I will do it. Well, that's a long flight, and I hate flying. But fuck it. Pounds are worth more than dollars, and I'll be able to go to Anderton's. I'm in. Sony, you're not gonna abuse me or anyone else. I have absolutely no problem taking you to court, and you know you will lose. And I know you know. And you know that I know you know. You don't want this to set a new precedent. You'd never be able to file another copyright claim or DMCA strike if this went to court. So I suggest you stop before you give me more evidence to use against you. I told you, don't make me make a project out of you, but you chose otherwise.